Good evening, Council. We're going to call our special council meeting to order for Wednesday, May the 14th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Move on. Number 2 is a declaration of peculiar interest. Any members of council have a declaration of peculiar interest tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. Number 3 is our approval of the agenda. We have a motion that reads that the agenda of the special council meeting for May the 14th, 2025 be approved as presented. Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilor Roux. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor and opposed? That is carried. Council, we have 2 items for in-camera discussion tonight. One is regarding 58 Church Street update, and the second is regarding the CAO's annual performance evaluation review. Before I call the motion to go into close, do any members wish to move into a closed session for further comments or questions? Seeing none. So we have a motion that reads that the first item, 58 Church Street, that we will receive the report for information. The second item will be that the April 2024 revised on February 26, 2025 CO job description be approved as presented. I'll look for mover, please. Moved by Councillor Waters, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Further comments? Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. And we'll look for a motion to adjourn at 6:32. Moved by Councillor Waters, seconded by Councillor Marchand. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Thank you. We'll be back at 7 o'clock for our regular council. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our council meeting for Wednesday, May the 14th, 2025. I'm going to call our meeting to order at 7 p.m. Welcome. Move on. Number 2 is our land acknowledgement. Penetanguishene respectfully acknowledges that we are on the traditional and treaty territory of the Nishnabek people and their ancestors, now known as the Williams Treaties First Nations territory. This includes the Chippewa Tri-Council, comprised of Bosley First Nation, Rama First Nation, and the Georgina Island First Nation, Alderville, Curve Lake, Hiawatha, and the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nations. Also once home of the Huron-Wendat, and more recently the historic settlement of the Métis, Penetanguishene is now home to many Indigenous peoples. Penetanguishene is proud of its Indigenous name, and more importantly, that for thousands of years it has been and will continue to be an important homeland and gathering place for Indigenous people. We recognize that we are the stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters, and are responsible to ensure that our Mother the Earth is here for future generations. Good evening, council, staff, and members of the public. Thank you for joining us here this evening. Council, I'm going to ask if we can rise, and I'm going to ask Councillor Waters if you can lead us in the council commitment, please.
We are grateful for the many gifts which have been bestowed upon Penetanguishene and its citizens, including the gifts of freedom, opportunity, and the peace that we all enjoy. May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us, and we ask that all in attendance and those who could not be here assist us in promoting good government. May our decisions as members of council be enlightened, and may we all be strengthened in our awareness of our duties and responsibilities. May we be granted the wisdom, knowledge, will, and the understanding to preserve the good fortune of the town of Penetang, for the benefit of all, and to make good laws and wise decisions. And thank you for attending.
Thank you very much, Councillor Waters. Councillor Roux, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Engagement du Conseil pour la ville de Penetanguishene. Nous sommes reconnaissants des nombreuses grâces accordées à Penetanguishene et à ses citoyens dont la liberté, les possibilités et la paix dont nous jouissons. Que nous soyons des intendants dignes de tout ce qui nous a été confié. Nous demandons que toutes les personnes présentes et celles qui n'ont pas pu se présenter nous aident à promouvoir une bonne gouvernance. Que nos décisions à titre de membres du Conseil soient éclairées et que nous soyons tous renforcés à prendre conscience de nos devoirs et responsabilités. Que l'on nous accorde la sagesse, les connaissances, la volonté et la compréhension qui nous permettent de préserver la bonne fortune de la ville au bénéfice de tous, ainsi que de faire bonne loi et prendre de sages décisions. Merci de votre présence.
Thank you very much, Councillor Roux. We'll move on to our next items, our public service announcement. Brittany, if you don't mind cueing that video, I'd appreciate that.
Hello, and welcome to this evening's council meeting. Before we start, just a few messages. For those that require the washrooms are located just outside of council chambers, to the right, down the hall. Town hall is protected by a single source fire alarm system. Should the fire alarm activate, please exit the building through the rear doors or the side doors. Make your way down to the park. In the event of a medical emergency, please dial 911. The address for town hall is number 10 Robert Street West in Penetanguishene. And I'd like to remind everyone that we have a public access defibrillator just outside of council chambers. I wish you a safe and good council meeting. Bonsoir et bienvenue à la ville de Penetanguishene et à la salle de conseil. Avant que nous commençons ce soir, une couple de messages. Si vous avez besoin de les chambres de bain sont situées juste à l'extérieur de la salle de conseil, au bout du corridor à votre droite. La salle de conseil est protégée d'un système alarme à feu de 1 stage. Si l'alarme à feu sonne, veuillez quitter la salle de conseil par les portes à l'arrière ou de côté et on se rejoint dans le stationnement près de l'église. En cas de problèmes médicaux, veuillez signaler le 911. L'adresse ici est le numéro 10 rue Robert-Ouest à Penetanguishene. Et je veux vous rappeler qu'il y a un défibrillateur public juste à l'extérieur de la caserne. Je vous souhaite une bonne soirée. Merci. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Brittany, and thanks to Chief Renault. Councilor, we're going to move on. Next item is our approval agenda. We have a motion that reads that the agenda of the regular council meeting for May the 14th, 2025 be approved as presented. Moved by Councilor Waters, seconded by Deputy Mayor LaRose. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Number 6, declaration of pecuniary interest. Any members have a declaration of pecuniary interest tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 7, our open forum. Open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address council on any matters that's important to you. Madam Clerk, is anyone registered for open forum this evening?
Thank you, Your Worship. There's no one registered for open forum this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And Brittany, is anyone online that wishes to address council? Anybody in the audience wish to address council on any matters? Okay, we'll move on. Next item is statement by members. This is an opportunity for council to share with the public the work they're doing on your behalf. Councilor Roux, if we can start with you, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. On April 16, I attended the public meeting in regards to Peel Street scape design. On April 17th, I attended the Hospice Euronia's 5th anniversary event at MCC in Midland. And I attended the museum board meeting on May 8th and attended the curling club board meeting of May 13th last evening.
Thank you very much, Councilor Roux. Councilor Marchand.
Thank you, Your Worship. A few things for me. I had the opportunity to attend the CLH Gala on May 3rd. A really wonderful evening, and was happy to be a part of that celebration. They raised $133,000 that evening, which was wonderful. Last Friday evening on May 9th, I co-hosted alongside Julie from the SSEA, the Environmental Awards. It was a really wonderful evening of celebration, and really pleased to see so many members of our joint SSEA Association mayors and board members represented. Jeff Lehman, former mayor of Barrie, presented and shared some really great wisdom and takeaways. So it was a really nice evening to celebrate the local environmental champions for the Severn Sound watershed, which was great. And I was really pleased to chair the Trails Committee meeting yesterday afternoon and have some new members, and really happy to be doing some work. We had a packed agenda, had a really great opportunity to chat and provide some feedback around Peel Street and some of the other great initiatives and some community events coming up. So really happy that that committee is back together. That's it for me.
Thank you, Councilor Marchand. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. We did attend the Public Information Center on Peel Street. It was very nice to see that it was well attended. They did give us some nice suggestions on what could happen with that. Yourself, myself, and Councilor Roux were at the Hospice 5th celebration, and if you want to ever see a group of very caring and volunteers, those are quite the group. We had our regular airport meeting, and we were discussing the ice storm because it opens up as an emergency center, and it was very nice to see. We had the Air Orange ambulances coming and going with the helicopters back and forth for a bunch of trips, and many trips from Ontario Hydro. They were flying in equipment to the airport, flying in people back and forth to help us get through. So it was, I just thought we would mention that. On the 26th of April, His Worship and I attended the Maple Syrup Festival in Elmvale, tried to defend our log song championship. And that's what I had. Let's just leave it at that. We were close. And May 2nd, the CAO, the mayor, and I attended the OSOM conference in Collingwood. We had a nice speech about tariffs and how that's affecting our area, which was new news then, old news today. So it was kind of redundant at some points, but it was a good lesson learned. And with that, we'll call it quits.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Councillor DeRush.
Thank you very much. On April 11th, I attended the Aging with Dignity webinar, and it was a webinar put on by Caledon, and it talked about how to serve our seniors in a more productive way in our community. So it was quite informative, and that was on behalf of the Wellness and Accessibility Committee that I chair. On May 6th, I attended the Summer Cultural Event Ad Hoc Committee meeting. I think it's our third or fourth meeting, and reminder that this committee is tasked to review options for a new signature summer festival. So we've been working hard on putting together a survey to receive and collect community feedback so that we get a good feel as to what the community wants to see. So stay tuned on that. You will be receiving that in your inbox soon. And on that note, I'll pass it on to someone else.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rush. Councillor Waters.
I was also here on the 16th for the Peel Street redesign. A lot of people there, a lot of feedback after the meeting as well. The 22nd, the garden club had a social tea. So I got to see all the ladies in their special little hats and discovered that I'm not a big fan of Earl Grey tea. 28th, we had a library board meeting. On the 2nd of this month, the Georgian Bay Native Women's Association unveiled their new logo, which was kind of neat because it shows three ladies, three generations, no, 7 generations before and 7 generations after. And this week we had finance and corporate services, planning and development, and last Friday we had the environmental thing at Presa Simcoe. And Suzanne gave her a little speech at, and she did a good job. And that's it for me.
Thank you very much, Councillor Waters. CEO Lees, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. A couple things. We will be pushing out some communication in the coming week or so with respect to a few office closures, one in May and one in June. One in May is an all-staff meeting where we bring everyone together as an organization and really ensure that everyone is aligned in terms of messaging, updates, and what's happening in the community. And then one in June is our annual all-staff appreciation event, which is in the works and a real opportunity for us to show appreciation and bring everyone together where we don't really have that opportunity too often. The second thing is Tuesday, April 22nd, Earth Day. We annually, as an organization, get together and do some cleanup in the Rotary Champlain Wendat Park. So we did that on April 22nd and had more than a handful of staff come together and do some park cleanup and really try and represent the community and make it look as great as possible. Friday, May 2nd, I think it was noted, SSEA held a meet and greet with the minister. And then following that, we had a dozen or more staff come together, engage, collaborate, and see SSEA in action in terms of the work that they do with respect to water quality work. And then last but not least, Thursday, April 10th, we held a post-winter debrief meeting. Public Works did. It included bylaw enforcement, all of Public Works, HR, and myself. It's the first that we've done a post-winter debrief. Went over very well, talked about lessons learned, some things that worked really well, and perhaps some things that we can do a little differently in future years. So lots happening across all departments. I've touched on a few here, but suffice to say that things are very, very busy across the organization. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, CEO Lees. I'll just highlight a few things that I was able to do so well. I did attend some of the events that my colleagues mentioned. This past week, I did attend the Auto Mayors daily conference with mayors and municipalities across the province working to support the auto manufacturing sector. So that was in Guelph, and it was well attended. The premier was there, so I think it was a good day for us. Thank Madam Clerk and the CO. We did have a couple meetings to review our letter that our council brought forward to the minister regarding strong mayor powers. So thanks for coordinating some of those discussions and work behind the scenes on that. I was able to represent council at Canadian Martyrs. They celebrated their 25th anniversary. So I was able to be at the school for that. I was also able to go to the Battle of the Atlantic commemoration that the Legion hosted at Rotary Park. opened the new business on the main street. Check it out, Rise Marketplace, phenomenal spot, and welcome them to our community. I did go to the SSE Awards. I won't steal the thunder, but Councillor Marchand did a stupendous job. I heard a lot of great feedback about your leadership and the work you're doing there, so good work there. I participated and led our South Georgian Bay OPP Detachment Board, and our administrator, Mr. DeBruin, is here this evening. That board's taken shape. We're making some great progress. We'll be coming to all of our councils in the near future, kind of review what's been done, what the action plan, and what the work's going forward. But I think a lot of areas are envious of the work that we're doing. So thanks for that, and thank you, Mr. Byrne, for your leadership and support. Council, I wanted to highlight one of our last council meetings. After our council meeting, I sit on the county's Economic Development Committee. And later tonight, we're going to get our report about the opportunity we're going to partner with the County of Simcoe. We heard at County yesterday that a lot of our colleagues are looking very favorably about this MOU and the work that we're doing. So I just wanted to highlight that for us. The next one, I'll say, this is not a pivot, nor is it a change in career. But we were all invited to participate in Huronia Players' Bare Bones performance. I did go once, and I think that'll be my last time I'll be invited. I'll leave it at that. I also represented council at Maurice Mechanical, their 35th year and retirement for Brian and Brad Maurice. So I was able to represent our council at that, another great event. I want to thank staff. I know we had some staff or public concerns brought forward, and I think you all navigate each one of those and appreciate the involvement and the follow-up with those, and you know what they are. And I want to thank Jeff and the entire team for the ice storm debrief. Last month we talked about the ice storm, but I think a few days after that, there's actually debrief about how we did, how we responded, and I think there's some great lessons learned. So thank you for the work and leadership that was done on that. So that's just a highlight for everybody about the work that council does on your behalf. Thanks, council. We'll move on. The next item is our proclamations. Council, we have 5 proclamations before us tonight. Before we read the motion, does anybody have any you want to push or pull for further comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. Our motion reads that the following proclamations have been given due consideration be approved. Again, we have 5 ones regarding our Museum Month, Children's Mental Health Week, our Victorian Order of Nurses Week, Pollinator Week, and the Recreation and Parks Month. I'll look for mover. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. 10 is our public meeting. We have none this evening. 11 is delegations and presentations. We have none this evening. 12 is our adoption minutes not already confirmed. Councillor, I read these. Any comments or questions or corrections on the minutes? Okay, the motion reads that the following minutes of council meetings be confirmed and adopted as circulated. We have one for special council for April the 9th, 2025, and council for April the 9th, 2025. We'll look for a mover. Councillor DeRush, second by Councillor Marchand. Further comments? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. 13 is our consent agenda. Before we read this, anybody have any comments or questions on this consent item? Mr. CEO, I know you and I had a quick conversation about this today, just for clarity for everyone's purpose. So tonight, the intent here is what we've got in this report. The notice of objections, the ones that did not have the notice of objection, are going to come forward tonight for approval by bylaw. At a future meeting through committee of the whole, staff will bring a report forward on these ones that have an appeal, just for clarity for the public and people for these addresses. That's a correct rendition of what to expect?
Through your worship, that's correct. The bylaws this evening are with respect to the 6 that there was no notices received on. The other 3, there'll be a future staff report come forward speaking to the concerns that were brought forward, as well as recommendations from staff on a go-forward plan.
Thank you very much. Council, further comments or questions? Okay, seeing none. The motion reads that the following consent agenda items have been given due consideration be received for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor LaRue, seconded by Councillor LaRue. Comments? Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. 14 is matters for consideration. 14A is regarding our AMO 2025 conference delegations. So council, last year, we know it's a short time to submit those delegations. We have to submit by May 31st. We won't have time to come back for next council. Staff's looking for some guidance from our perspective. Where would we like to be delegating? And what do we feel in some priorities? So we're thinking we'd bring back same format as last year, just give everyone an opportunity to give some consideration about these that have been presented. Do you have feelings about one that's higher priority, or do you have other areas that you'd like us to focus on? I'll leave my comment to the end. Councillor Roux.
In regards to the AMO conference delegations, Your Worship, I'm in total agreement of the ones that we have listed.
Thank you very much, Councillor Roux. Councillor Marchand.
Yeah, I support the items that we're bringing back. Once again, I think it is some consistency, and just I think it needs to be heard again. Having participated last year for the first time and seeing the impact that having those presentation, and I think it's the conversations that also happen on the floor or throughout the whole conference that really allows for some additional dialogue and clarity around those pieces. So I do support what's being brought forward, and I was also happy to see that the focus on the community grant for operations for the museum as well. I think that's really valuable.
Thank you, Councillor Marchand. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I concur. I think it's great on our part to be able to hammer these home constantly. We've done a few delegations in between. As Councillor Marchand said, it's a great time to spend that focusing on this. So I'm in agreement.
Thank you. Councillor DeRush.
I too agree. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Waters.
Looks great.
Okay, Council, I'm hopeful we can work and we'll see if the CEO can take this away. I like them all. I think they're all good. My only one I would like to provide a little bit of perhaps caution is the third one, CNCC policing costs. We all know that's a priority for our community. I think we all know there's been a lot of positive work there. I just don't want to sidestep our strategic plan that we've been trying to execute on that. So I think, you know, whether it's a delegation or it's another strategic play, I think we do it, but maybe it's a little bit of a zigzag, and hopefully that's okay, Mr. Seo, that you can kind of take that if everyone has any side feeling. So it's still priority, but we may adjust a little bit on the process. Is that fair, Mr. Seo?
Through Your Worship, yeah, that's certainly fair. I think it's an important one, and I think we need to be nimble based on previous conversations that this council has had.
Any other comments for anyone? Okay, so our motion reads that the staff be directed to submit delegation requests for the 2025 AMO conference for the following ministries and topics regarding: 1, secondary water supply project. Seconds are payment in lieu of taxes, heads and beds. Third is regarding our CNCC policing costs. And 4 is regarding our community museum operating grants. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Roux. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. 14B is regarding our Robert Street and Fuller Avenue intersection tender award. Before I read this motion, anybody have any further comments or questions on this? Okay, motion reads that the contract for Robert Street East and Fuller Avenue intersection improvements be awarded to GIP Paving, and that an additional allocation of $225,000 is approved for project contingency and to complete the utility relocation work associated with the project. It's moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Waters. Further comments? Seeing none, we'll call the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. 14C is regarding the widening parcel for Fuller and Robert. Before I read this motion, any members have further comments or questions? Okay. The motion reads that the dedicated road widening parcel on the southwest corner of Fuller Avenue and Robert Street East, part of Lot 5, Block 5, PL 101, being parts 1 and 2, and Plan 51R 44854, part of PIN 58441-0262, located along the frontage of Fuller Avenue and Robert Street East, being assumed as part of the public highway known as Fuller Avenue. And that the dedicated road widening parcel, part lot 76 PL 1521, being part 1 on Plan 51R 44812, Penetanguishene, located on the northwest corner of Fuller Avenue and Robert Street East, be assumed as part of the public highway known as Fuller Avenue. And further, that the parcels described as parts 1, 2 and 3, SC 2108512, Plan of Expropriation, being a portion of the property known as 1106 Tape Point Road on the east side of the Fuller Avenue, be assumed as part of the public highway known as Fuller Avenue. And finally, that staff be directed to bring forward the necessary bylaw for council approval. I'm going to look for a mover. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Further comments or questions? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to say thank you to Brian Murray and his crew. This has been a long time coming. This is a very major intersection. Anybody knows that drives up there. And we had some unfortunate circumstances that we ran into, which has delayed it. So it's very nice to see this going. We had to do a small expropriation, as you just read, on the far side of Fuller Avenue. And this now should solve all the problems. Daylight triangles are in. Turning lanes will be ready to go. So we look forward to this project moving forward.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And to your point, a lot of these things can be multiple council terms, and this is one that spreads across multiple terms. Further comments or questions? We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. All right, Council, the next item is regarding, it's an addendum we added to the agenda today. It's regarding the Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act. We added this to the agenda. This is similar to last month. We received literally, as we're releasing the agenda, an update from the province. Last month's was regarding strong mayor powers. We felt it was important that council heard. If we as a municipality want to respond to this, the response is due on our next council meeting date. So there wasn't a lot of time. So the thought tonight was that staff take this away and come back with kind of their best opinion on where we should go. But do you have comments, feelings, thoughts that you would like to be included on this as we prepare? Understand this hot off the press, and we probably all haven't had a chance to dive into this. There's a lot of competing interests, but if there's elements that you feel is important, that we would like to gauge that. The feeling and sentiment is this will come back next council. And hopefully at council, we can kind of tweak, revise, and approve and get it submitted at the same time. So before we go into this, any members have anything you want to comment on this item? Mr. Seo, do you have anything you'd like to highlight?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just touch on a couple things. And you did touch on the fact that this has been similar to other pieces of proposed legislation. This is one that is hot off the press. What we intend to do, assuming council supports the motion in front of you, would be to come back on June 11th with a staff report that would engage all members of the team internally in terms of the different impacts across the various departments. We would also draft up a letter that we would propose to send to the ministry in terms of the feedback, and really be ready on the 11th of June to submit that evening because council meets on June 11th. The worst case scenario, which is not a bad scenario, would be that we could submit it on June 12th still. The province will not accept our feedback if it's the following day, but we do fully intend and see no reason to believe that we couldn't get this submitted via the registry portal on the evening of June 11th, which is our council meeting. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. And that's why our municipality and our staff are the best. We respond quickly. We're able to get the work done. Madam Clerk, thanks for getting this on the agenda tonight, and Jeff and team for being able to respond. Council, comments or questions on this? Okay, the motion reads that staff complete a review of the impacts of the Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act 2025 on the municipality and report back to council at the June 11, 2025 meeting. And the staff be directed to provide council's comments to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing through the Ontario Regulatory Registry for the Protect Ontario by Building Faster and Smarter Act 2025. Moved by Councillor Waters, second by Councillor DeRush. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Moving on, 15 is a presentation consideration reports regarding committee of the whole. So every meeting, council meets as council. When we adjourn our council meeting, we move into committee of the whole. The following month, the committee of the whole report comes forward and council hears those motions that was read last month. So what we're going to move into now is what committee of the whole addressed last month at our April 9th, 2025 committee of the whole. The chair of the committee will present those for council's consideration. So just so we're all on the same page for that. Deputy Mayor, I'll ask if you can present the Transportation and Environmental Services section for last month, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. On April 9th, our section had 5 consent agenda items, and they were the 2024 Stormwater Annual Report, Midland Penetanguishene Transit Committee meeting minutes, 2024 Sanitary Collection Annual Report, annual report of the STP and pump stations, and the 2024 Road Division's KPI summary report. We had no matters for consideration, and there was 2 matters on our referral lists, and they were septic disposal and treatment resolution and pedestrian crosswalk paintings. Oh, I died. Our recommendation within the Committee of the Whole report related to Transportation and Environment section be approved.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. And that motion's moved by the Deputy Mayor and seconded by Councillor Marchand. Does anybody wish to pull any for further comment? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Councillor Roux, if you could do the Recreation and Community Services, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Committee of the Whole report related to the Recreation and Community Services section of April 9, 2025 dealt with 2 consent agendas. One was Museum and Heritage Committee minutes of February 13, 25. And secondly, the Summer Cultural Festival Ad Hoc Committee minutes of January 14, 2025. There were no matters for consideration. There are 5 future agenda items. One is the Skateboard Park Review, the GBCSC Cycle of Hope event, 3, the McGuire Park and Pickleball Courts, 4, Memorial Opportunities, 5, Canadian Museum of Water and GB Heritage Leagues. So it is moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor LaRose that Committee of the Whole reported related to the Recreation Community Service section of April 9, 2025 be approved.
Thank you very much, Councillor. We have the mover and seconders. Anybody wish to point anything for further comment or debate? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. Councillor DeRush, please.
The Planning and Community Development Services section had 3 consent agenda items. The first was the Committee of Adjustment minutes dated January 27th, 2025. The second was the Planning and Community Development first quarter summary. And the third was a monthly municipal law enforcement activity report for March 2025. There were 2 matters for consideration. The first was the 2024 Heritage Tax rebates, and it was recommended that 3 rebates be approved. The second matter was a sign amendment for 7 Harriet Street, and it was recommended that the sign amendment be approved to permit a ground sign having no setback to the property line. 2 items were removed from the referrals. The first was the telecommunication protocol, and the second was the loitering bylaw. As the chair of the Planning and Community Development Services section, I move the motion, and it is seconded by Vice Chair Bill Waters.
Thank you very much, Councillor DeRush. Does anybody wish to pull anything for further comment or discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. And Councillor Marchand, please.
Thank you. For the Finance and Corporate Services section, on the consent agenda, we had 3 items: the 2024 water write-offs, the 2024 year-end property tax receivables, and the third item was the Cultural Alliance follow-up. We had 1 matter that was brought forward for consideration, and that was the taxes for 2025, the rates and levies, and we had 2 items added to the referral list, which was one was additional work around public consultation, and the second was a presentation from Electra. So as the chair of the Finance and Corporate Services section and seconded by Councillor Waters, we're recommending that the recommendations contained within the Committee of the Whole report related to the Finance and Corporate Services section be approved.
Thank you very much, Councillor Marchand. Thank you very much, Councillor Marchand. Does anybody wish to point anything for further comment or discussion? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. Moving on, 16's presentation, consideration of reports for special committees. We have none. 17 notices of motion, which has been previously given. We have none. 18's notice of motion. Any members of council wish to present a notice of motion this evening? Seeing none. 19's our consideration of bylaws. Before I read the bylaws, anybody have any comments or discussion on the bylaws as presented? Seeing none, I do. Okay, Council, as we know, on May the 1st, Strong Mayor powers came in force by amendment to the Ontario Municipal Act. And the mayor is afforded the ability to veto bylaws. And you have 2 days after a bylaw is heard in council to make notice to the clerk about that, and nothing needs to be verbalized here. It could happen tomorrow or Friday. We've had conversation internally with our own legal counsel and internally, how do we want to work through the process? Staff want to get moving on a lot of things we're going to approve as we move forward. So we're, as a best practice, going to communicate here. Is there an intent to veto or not veto? So then we know and staff knows what the plan is as we move forward. So that's what we're going to try to do as we move forward, and hopefully we all work our way through it. And if it gets awkward, let us know. So as mayor of the town of Penetanguishene and municipality with strong mayor powers, I do not have any intention to veto any bylaws presented this evening. And council, we have many bylaws, so here we go. That the bylaws be enacted as bylaws of the town of Penetanguishene, and that they be read a first time, deemed to be read a second time, a third time, and carried. And this is regarding bylaw 2025-16, being a bylaw to adopt budget estimates for 2025. Bylaw 2025-17, being a bylaw to set the rates of taxation for 2025. Bylaw 2025-18, being a bylaw regarding the heritage designation for 13 Fox Street. Bylaw 2025-19 regarding heritage designation for 13 Peel Street. Bylaw 2025-20 being a bylaw regarding heritage designation for 21 Peel Street. Bylaw 2025-21 being heritage designation regarding 26 Water Street. Bylaw 2025-22 be heritage designation regarding 27 Church Street. Bylaw 2025-23 being regarding heritage designation for 58 Robert Street East. Bylaw 2025-24 being a bylaw to assume road widening parcels on Robert Street East and Fuller Avenue. Comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll look for a mover, please. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Waters. Call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? And that is carried. The County of Simcoe, currently, the Mayor and Deputy Mayor serves the County of Simcoe on behalf of the 16 municipalities. The Deputy Mayor reports back to the community about the work that's being done on your behalf to the County of Simcoe, at the County of Simcoe. Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. At the county, we've had an issue I'm sure everybody is aware of that has sort of dominated what would be important to our council, and it's about the composition of council and the issue with the weighted vote. I'm not going to get into it right now because we are going to deal with it in the upcoming agenda for us in a few minutes. So we'll leave it at that for now. I would like to make a couple of announcements. One is, if you have any brush, you can cut it up, put it at the curb, and call the county or email the county, and they will make arrangements to come and pick it up on a house-by-house basis. As they're trying to get everything cleaned up. They've done the big parts. Now we're down to the smaller portions. The other thing I wanted to talk about was May 18th coming up is Paramedic Week. And at the county, they do an essay contest for all of grade 5 students throughout the county. And grade 5 students have to submit an essay on why they would like to be a paramedic or in that type of professional work. So on Tuesday, yes, it was yesterday, they had the winner, and it was a young lady from Penetanguishene that won the essay contest. Her name is Faith Houston, and they gave her a little uniform. She got a first aid kit. They piped her into the room. They were all there. They did a mock exercise, and she read her essay out in live in front of everybody, full packed house, and it was just absolutely amazing on why this young girl wants to do what she did. She got a standing ovation. It was a great thing, and the mayor and I didn't know till the time that she is one of our residents. So it was really nice to see her, and a big honor for this young lady who did extremely well. So With that, that will conclude our highlights, Your Worship.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. She had quite a story to tell. Like some people are choking up. It was pretty stuff at her age. I'm surprised. Okay, Council, let's move on to our next item is announcements and inquiries. Councillor DeRush.
Thank you very much. I actually have a few announcements to make. So June 5th is Seniors Information Day, and that is a day to support our senior community members in aging with dignity and independence. So the event, it runs at the arena at the Brian Orser Hall. It runs from 10 to 2, and the entry is free, and it includes a lunch, and there will be lots of information. There will be vendors, there'll be formal speakers and live entertainment. So please mark it in your calendar, spread the word, have people attend. It's certainly worth it. And I do want to take this opportunity to shout out to the sponsors who make this event possible. So that's the first announcement I'd like to make. The second one is regarding National Youth Week, which did run May 1st to 7th. So it's now in the past, but each year the town of Penetanguishene does solicit applications to the town's Youth Endowment Fund, and that is a fund that is managed through the Wellness and Accessibility Committee. So this fund was created in 2011 through a partnership with the Huronia Community Foundation. And the Wellness and Accessibility Committee did launch the week by announcing and recognizing the application that was successful this year. This application was submitted by Felix Van Beek, and Felix will be working with the staff at the Penetanguishene Centennial Museum to develop and offer a tour and activities to teach other youth about the history of the town. So we're really excited about that. Following the completion of this program, Felix will be invited to attend one of our council meetings to share what he has learned and contributed to the Penetanguishene Committee with the assistance of the Youth Endowment Fund. So stay tuned. We're going to get a little bit of a presentation in the future. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rush. Councillor Leroux.
Thank you, Worship. I have a number. Number one is Friday night soirees at the amphitheater. Summer concerts will begin June the 6th through to the end of August. Secondly, the possibility of the splash pad going into use by mid-June. Then we have the Trails Day celebration hosted by Gananarska Hiking Club on June the 7th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and that's starting from École Secondaire Le Caron at 22 John Street, and it continues for a guided hike on the Thompson Track in the Simcoe County Forest. And there are 3 guided hikes: 10 a.m. the long hike, 10:30 a.m. forest bathing hike, and 11 a.m. the short hike. And lastly, the bike rodeo will take place on May the 31st at James Keating School from 10:30 a.m.
Thank you, Councillor Leroux. Any other announcements or inquiries? Okay. We'll move on. Next is our confirmation bylaw. We have a motion reads that the confirmation bylaw 2025-24 be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. Moved by Councillor Leroux, second by Councillor Marchand. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. And we'll look for motion to adjourn at 7:42. Moved by Deputy Mayor and Councillor DeRush. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Council, we good to move right in? All right. Let's. Do we need a second to change the tape? Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to call our Committee of the Whole meeting to order for Wednesday, May the 14th, 2025 at 7:43 p.m. We have a motion that reads that the Committee of the Whole agenda for May the 14th, 2025 be approved as presented. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Marchand. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That's carried. Next item is a declaration of pecuniary interest. Any members have a declaration of pecuniary interest tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on. Next is delegations and presentations. And Council, I meant to make this comment in our announcement section. Unfortunately, Councillor Vedabunker is having technology issues, not able to connect. So our apologies, but he has reached out and we're not able to connect. So we're going to move on. So no delegations or presentations. 5 is our council information package. Council, you have the 2 items there regarding the April 23rd and May 7th council information package. Anybody wish to point anything for further comments or questions? Seeing none, the motion reads that the council information package having been given due consideration be received for information again for April the 23rd and May the 7th. I'll look for mover. Moved by Councillor Waters, seconded by Councillor Roux. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? And opposed? That is carried. And we're going to move on to our next item, Section A, Transportation Environmental Services section. I'm going to turn the chair to the Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. We're on item 6, our consent agenda, that the following consent agenda items have been given due consideration be received for information. We have 1 item, and it is the Midland Penetanguishene ridership update. I'm looking for a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Leroux, seconded by Councillor Waters. Any questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Moving down to matters for consideration, we only have 1 item, and it is a proposed amendment to the traffic and parking bylaw. If there any, well, we'll do it first. Can I get a mover for that? Mover by Councillor Darash, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Is there any questions on this item? Seeing none, we'll call for the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Moving down to our referrals section, C, that the Transportation Environmental Services section endorse the following and additional and existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff. We have 2 items that have been there for a little bit, septic disposal and treatment resolution and Habitat for Humanity. Can I get a mover and a seconder for this? Moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by Councillor Leroux. Any questions on those? Any additions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? And that is carried. Your Worship, it's back to you.
Thank you.
Oh, we missed it. Sorry, is there any question period from the media or public? Seeing none, Your Worship, back to you. Oh, yes, sir?
Is that one you just did, is it the one that I received the thing about the community safety zone?
I'm going.
That one?
Yeah, can you just go to the mic and tell us who you are?
Oh, sorry. Sorry, my name is Mike McCrae. I live on Champlain Road. And I received this in the mail a little while. It's about community safety zones. It looks like all over the town. One of them being Champlain Road. So just wondering whether that 6B was in fact this. Yeah, that's all I wanted to know. Thanks for passing it.
Thanks for comment. Your Worship, back to you.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. So committee has accepted that, approved that tonight. There's still another step that will come forward next month where council will make a decision. And then there's a bylaw that would be attached to that. So there's still a couple steps to go. And staff will be more than happy to help you with that process. But step 1 is here tonight. All right, we're going to move on to the next item, 7, Section B, Recreation Community Services section. I'm going to turn the chair to Councillor Roux.
Thank you, Your Worship. Under the Committee of Recreation Community Services, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items under the consent agenda. Number 1 is the Wellbeing and Accessibility Committee meetings of February 20th. 2 is the Penetanguishene Library Board meeting minutes of February 24th. C is the Summer Cultural Festival Ad Hoc Committee minutes of March 4th. D is the Marine Engineering Services Agreement. E is the Recreation, Parks and Trails Strategy Planning Consultant. And F is the 77th Winterama Post-Event Report. Are there any one of these that anyone would like to discuss, remove, add? Councillor Marchand?
The library board minutes, please.
Okay, and so that we will deal with the other items and then come back to yours. So, Your Worship.
I just want to make a comment regarding E and F. I don't want to pull it to tweak it. I just had a comment whenever the time's right.
Okay. in regards to the library, both the same. So on the other matters, a mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor and Councillor DeBrush, all in favor? Okay, and now we'll move to the one for the library board. Councillor Marchand.
In the minutes, it's noted that there was a comment made, and I'm just looking for some clarity because I just want to ensure that what was conveyed at the meeting on behalf of council is the appropriate wording. So in section B, it says board member Councillor Waters advised the request for library closure on an agenda may be redundant, but he has been receiving a lot of flack from other council members regarding the hours of operation and lack of membership, which is rather dismal, and the people paying our rates are unhappy. So that's a pretty loaded statement, and I just wanted to be clear that if Councillor Waters, if you can clarify, speaking on behalf of other members of council, because certainly my concerns were about I'd like to see increased hours. I have not made comments about dismal membership, and also that people are unhappy that they're paying to support the library. So I was just looking for clarity around those particular comments that were made, and just I think when you're representing council, that what is being shared what we're saying is properly conveyed at the board meeting for the library.
Okay, I'm not sure where to start there. So the dismal membership, that was my comment. The memberships is down. It's down considerably. It is starting to come back up. There has been comments made to me by members of council about the lack of hours or the reduction in hours. We did make up some money for the library so that they could operate. However, that didn't happen. It could increase their hours, but immediately after having budget, it took until March, I think, before the hours were actually brought into the board to the hours just sat in limbo. The hours have been increased, and it looks like that perhaps they're going to be increasing again. Some of the things in the minutes are slightly fine-tuned, I guess. Might be a polite way to put it. And I'm not sure what the other question was that you had.
It was more just clarity and ensuring that comments that are being brought to those library meetings are truly what's reflected by council members here, because I did not use the word flack. I think there's some things in there that I was surprised to see some of the commentary, because it is not a reflection of how I feel that my comments were shared at this particular meeting when we did talk about the hours. So I'm just really looking for support, so that if you're speaking on behalf of yourself, or if you're on behalf of all of council, that what we've talked about is truly what's being communicated at those meetings is really my request.
Okay, well, there would have been no reference to anything that you would have said to me at that meeting where I said, so-and-so told me that. It was just general comments, nothing to refer to any individual person. So I'm sorry if that caused any embarrassment for you or any concern. The library does seem to be starting to move ahead. We are getting more members and more hours, so hopefully we can get back up to where it should be.
Your Worship, you had.
Thank you very much, Councillor Roux. I just want to comment on the two items, one being E regarding the recreation parks and trails strategy. I think this is exciting. We've been talking about a new multi-purpose recreational center and what that could look like. We've heard and we've had referral items about converting tennis into more pickleball. We've heard about more trails. We've heard about a number of assets that the community is looking for recreational type planning. I think when we look back to our strategic plan, we've really set a direction, a path forward to how we serve this community. And I think a lot of these studies and reports help to gauge what the needs are and how we meet this. I'm excited to get the results of this as our new rec master plan and guide our future planning and what that is. So I just wanted to comment that this is an exciting next step and helps to provide informed decision making. So thanks for the update and providing us that. And I think this is another thing that we should all celebrate and be proud of. And Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I just wanted to comment on the 77 Winteremma post-event report. Another great thing that I think we should all recognize and celebrate. And if we go backwards in time a little bit, remember it was Snowmageddon that week. And we actually asked staff, literally days before, should we postpone this? And I heard nothing but positive things from everybody that participated. And I think we did a marvelous thing with specifically the amount of snow that fell in days before. And this was a team effort on everybody. Like, this is not any one person, one department. This was truly a combined effort of everybody in the organization. But this is a great job that we've really done. And the community's asked for events like this, and Winteremma is a signature event. And I think this highlights what we hear and how we're delivering excellence. And, I'm looking forward to more and more to come. So thanks for the work and champion and being leaders. And I just wanted to celebrate the work. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
And with that, we come back to the Penetanguishene Library Board minutes. Need a mover and a seconder on that one. Councillor Marchand and Mayor Rawson, all in favor. That is carried. Consideration museum activities report that the 2024 museum activities report for the operations of the Penetanguishene Centennial Museum and Archives be approved as presented in attachment 1. Concerns, comments? Mover, Deputy Mayor, and Councillor DeRush, all in favor. That is carried. Thank you. Referrals to upcoming agenda that the Recreation Community Service section endorsed the following additional and existing referrals to upcoming agendas and staff. One is the McGuire Park Pickleball Courts. The other is the Memorial Opportunity. And finally, the Canadian Museum of Water and GB Heritage League. Does anyone have any that they wish to add or remove? Mr. Mayor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Council, I'd like to see if we could remove Canadian Museum of Water and the Georgian Bay Heritage League. This came forward at a delegation earlier this year. The reason why I think we should remove this tonight, and again, I added it, is recently they've had a relationship, and you probably saw some press release that they've partnered up and they've moved into the MCC in Midland. We've had multiple reach outs by staff with the group. And I know from firsthand conversations that the timeline, we communicated this to be coming Q4 of this year. They're really looking for decisions like January of 25. And we've communicated what that looks like. And the delayed path doesn't meet their needs. We can always bring this back if this council feels the time would be better to re-look at this in the future, but I've had multiple conversations. I know I've had the CO in contact with the group, and I think the stars just are not aligned and they've moved on. I think it just doesn't serve everyone well to keep it on here if we have no intention to work collaboratively on this right now. So, Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to move that if the will of the committee feels that way.
Thank you. So therefore, members of council, with the removal of Canadian Museum and Water and Heritage League and the other two, could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Marchand, Councillor DeRush, all in favor. That is carried. Question period from media and public. There are none. Back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm going to move on to 8. Section C, Planning Community Development Services section. I'm going to turn the chair to Councillor DeRush.
Thank you very much. So the section has 4 consent agenda items, and the recommendation reads that the following consent agenda items having been given due consideration be received for information. The first is the Ontario Land Tribunal notices for case management conference and settlement hearing, Queen's Court, 221 Fox Street. The second is the Town Dock Technical Advisory Committee meeting minutes. The third is the memo from the Municipal Law Enforcement Officer, which is a monthly activity report for April of 2025. And the last is the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes of March 29, 2025. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Marchand, seconded by Councillor Waters. Are there any of these items that anyone wishes to discuss or ask questions about? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. All in favor? Opposed? The motion is carried. There are no matters for consideration, and we are left with one referral on our agenda, on our future agenda, and that would be 161 Church Street, and it is options for future use, including parkland or other options to define and clarify use. And so the recommendation is that the Planning and Community Development Services section endorse the following existing referral to upcoming agendas and staff. Does any, can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor LaRose, seconded by Councillor Marchand. Are there any items that anyone wishes to add to this list? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote. All in favor? Opposed, and the motion is carried. Next is a question period for media and public. Do we have any questions? Seeing none, I'll pass that back to you, Mayor Rawson.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Okay, move on to 9, Section D, Finance and Corporate Services section. I turn the chair to Councillor Marchand.
Thank you, Your Worship. For Finance and Corporate Services, for the consent agenda, we have several items for under consent agenda. That the following consent agenda items, having been given due consideration, be received for information. The first is the Cultural Alliance in the Heart of Georgian Bay Partnership follow-up. Second is the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan Refresher Report. The third item is C 2024 year-end, draft year-end, and 2025 Q1 Financial Summary Report. Item D, the Strong Mayor's Power legislation. Item E, the 2024 annual remuneration for council, boards, and committees. Item F is the electronic document record management system project update. And item G, the 2011 to 2024 history of grants received report. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Rush, seconded by Deputy LaRose. Any item under the consent agenda wishing to be pulled and discussed? Your Worship.
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. If we could pull D, Strong Mayor Powers, I'd like to talk about that.
Thank you. Any other items to be pulled for discussion? Seeing none, I'll move to vote to approve all other items under consent agenda. We did have a mover and seconder. All those in favor? That motion is carried. Okay. Strong Mayor's Power legislation, Your Worship.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Council, thanks. After our last council meeting, we did send the letter, which was on our CIP tonight, to the ministry, and we responded back that this council unanimously supported that we did not want these new powers afforded to the municipality. On May 1st, we did receive word from the minister that the town of Penetanguishene and 169 other municipalities, if you recall, when we did receive the first notice from the ministry, they advised it be 169 municipalities that are considering to afford these powers to. When the regulations were updated on May 1st, they actually included another municipality. There's actually 170 they actually provided to. So the legislation has been amended. We do have these powers. We can't decide to opt in or opt out. They are there. They are part of the Municipal Act. I want to thank staff, specifically Madam Clerk and our CEO. We did take our feedback and we did meet with our solicitor to go through what does this mean and how do we move forward. And I think we had some good conversation about how we navigate this when we move forward, but also, you know, recognizing what's the spirit of our council. We all believe and we all support that we are one voice representing our community. I think we have great debate and great discussions here at this table. And I believe, and I've said this, and we all said this, no one person should be able to veto that discussion and go down their own path. I think it's a recipe for disaster. I think there's a lot of bad things that can come from it. But it is what's here today, and we have to live with the rules that's before us. Today, we did put out a news update. We've updated our website. And we've provided public documentation about how we're proceeding forward with the new strong mayor powers. So, for example, 3 directives were put in place today. The first one was the appointment of a chief administrative officer for the municipality, that now under the legislation, solely the mayor can make that decision to make any changes to the CEO within an organization. So a directive was provided today that delegates that authority back to council. So that was published, it's on the website, everyone can see that. So that's the first thing we did, which is the way we practiced as a council prior to May the 1st. That's the way we've always practiced. But again, the rules are what they are. So that delegation was done. And I want to thank Madam Clerk for helping us with that process. The second directive that was done today was the mayor can now make organizational changes and specifically staffing changes at the senior level. We had some good, healthy discussion with our solicitor, and I think the definition of senior management is not very clearly defined, but it provides some awkwardness in how we move forward. We believe that that wasn't appropriate prior to May the 1st, and it's inappropriate post May 1st. Today, a directive was provided that those powers would be provided to the chief administrative officer, which is what was done prior to May the 1st. That directive was given today that the CEO has full authority and control of the administrative matters of the municipality. The third one is regarding the budget process. We had some healthy debate with our solicitor about that as well. We talked about our budget process, which I think we've refined very well. We hear often we're at county, people always say, wow, you guys have a great recipe. How do you do it? And we say, our Madam Treasurer has fine-tuned it so well that I think it's the envy of most of their municipalities because it works. But we heard from our solicitor that we truly can't follow that process per se. It has to be a strong mayor budget. What we said is we want to use our process. Tonight, I believe Madam Treasurer is going to bring forward a report with our timelines and budget process we traditionally do. That's going to come forward, I believe, next month, just to add in some of these caveats about this legislation. And what we're suggesting is that the existing process will follow suit. We're just going to, the director is going to be follow our normal process. And that's how we're enshrining what that looks like. So we're working within the systems that we all do, but we have to conform to the legislative work that's before us. I know as we get more information, we'll share more information. More of the details that was fine-tuned from the legislation has been provided in the report. And again, thank you, Madam Clerk, for providing that and the details and the background. I think there's a lot of great work that's inside there. I'm open to any questions if anybody has any, but I think between that and what Madam Clerk has provided, it's all there. And I just wanted to let everyone know we hear you. I think we're still the same voice we were prior. My lens, nothing has changed. We mentioned about the veto earlier. I have zero intention of doing that, but we wanted to bring those things forward tonight because that's what's in the Municipal Act today. With that, Madam Chair, I just wanted to share that. And again, I'm open to any questions. I'm sure Madam Clerk will be happy to field them as well. Thank you.
Thank you for that commentary. And I think that's really important to share what it means for us as a municipality and what it means for, well, the 170 municipalities that this was provided. And, you know, the 3 items you touched on are 3 of the items that really are not the key reason this legislation was created, which was building houses faster, but I don't think we try to delay that in any way. So with that, that was just commentary. So did we technically pull it or we've passed that? We're good? No. Okay, so I need a mover, please. Your worship, second by Councillor DeRush. All those in favor? Okay, that consent agenda item carries. Thank you. Okay, moving to matters for consideration. We have a few items. We have 3 items for this evening. The first one is the County of Simcoe Council composition. And the motion reads that the Council of the Town of Penetanguishene hereby consent does not consent to the County of Simcoe bylaw 7119-24 related to county council composition, and that staff be directed to provide notice to the County of Simcoe of the above noted decision. I need a mover and a seconder so we can get that on the floor. Moved by Councillor Waters, second by Deputy LaRose. Any comments or questions before we call for the vote? Go ahead, your Deputy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As I alluded to earlier, I have talked about this a number of times over the last couple of months. This is an annual thing that takes place once a term for the last 30 years. This is about as far as this report has ever gotten. For the first time, it was kind of new to everybody. What I wanted to talk a little bit about tonight is just how it's going. When this first came onto the county floor, as you know, there's 32 councillors, it was defeated. The second it was defeated, one of the councillors at a larger municipality put up their hand and required a weighted vote. With the weighted vote, it was passed. So then it came back 2 weeks later, the same system as we use here when we go back to do it from committee of the whole to council. When it came to council, it was defeated again, 17-15. And again, a different councillor from one of the southern municipalities put up their hand, asked for a weighted vote. We don't want to do it. So the democracy involved is wrong in my mind. It's been voted down twice, but we're still proceeding ahead. So the composition and the weighted vote are two separate items. One is to take away half of council. And the reasoning that the people that brought it forward said in the beginning was monetary. So 2 weeks later, when we looked at it at council, it was provided to us by the treasurer that it's an approximation of $1.47 a year for a councillor. So that to me was kind of out of the window. No one's going to notice a difference in their tax bill of $1.47 for the year from the county portion. So it's been kind of pushed around. It was never agreed upon to have a staff report. A bunch of us councillors that were looking forward for it were pushing for that. The other group was not pushing for it. So it's never been sussed all out how it's going to take place. So when we look at the weighted part of the vote, Penetanguishene being one of the smaller municipalities, there's us and Agila, I believe it is, we are provided 2 votes each. Some of the bigger municipalities, such as New Tech and Bradford, they have up to 14 votes. So this is where it becomes worse now, that if they take 16 people out of the room, a group of 6 people could actually vote in anything they want. They just use their weighted vote. You get outvoted 14-3 for a small municipality, and it's over. So in my mind personally, it's more of a power play by the southern municipalities that have a larger population. I understand why we need a weighted vote, but I believe that the weighted vote should have limits and restrictions on when it should be used and when it should not be used. Our governance committee at the county is looking at that in, I believe it's approximately 2 weeks from now. That's not going to help us for this tonight. Whether it goes good or goes bad or in our favor or out of our favor, we don't know. So at that, without going into a long thing about it, because we've been dealing with it for a number of weeks now, and it's, as I said, it's been going on for 30 years. It's never came to a head. So just my personal feelings, I would hope that council would look at this and want to keep as much voting power as we have now for the northern municipalities as opposed to the south. You know, you'd never want to say the word bully, but it's more of a power play that they want to keep control of what they can have and what they can do, as opposed to staying with the status quo where it's a little fairer. So with that, I think, Madam Chair, I'll end my comments for now.
Thank you. Any other comments? Sir?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have actually gone through this process twice at the county, and as Deputy Mayor mentioned, it's been ongoing for 30-some years. I personally don't have any problems with the reduction of the council, but I do have with the weighted vote. I wouldn't have a problem with the reduction, but I don't agree with the weighted vote.
Thank you, Councillor Leroux. Any other comments or questions by members of council? Your worship.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this is an interesting topic, and if I can just comment, Councillor Leroux, the bylaw that's before us is the bylaw. We can't separate out and say yes to weighted, no to size. It's all or nothing. That was something that was discussed, but it was all or nothing on the procedure. I just want to look at a few things and talk about some fact and then how we move forward. Tonight and previous nights, we've talked about strong mayor powers, and we said no one person should be able to decide the direction that council makes. I think this is no different. I think taking 32 voices and shrinking it down to a smaller number is not right. I think we get good decisions by having more people around the table talking our way through how we want to get there. You know, when this first came to us, it came to us on the pretense of 32 members is too big and messy, and we're not able to make decisions, and we're not efficient, and we'll be more efficient if we shrink the size of council. And we also heard cost savings. Those were the two things we heard. We have not yet heard once what's the cost savings, and it's actually been confirmed it's probably going to cost more money, because staff and council said we're going to need to rely on more staff support to support 16 members opposed to 32. We have not yet had one piece of factual information say there will be cost savings. I want to talk about the efficiency. We had county council yesterday. We were out in an hour and 15 minutes. I think that's pretty efficient. I'm just wondering, like, are we going to be 43 minutes next time if we shrink to 16? Most times when we look at our provincial and federal elections that have occurred, we have sent more members of provincial or federal parliament. As we grow, we have more people representing the needs of our community. And as our community is growing, we want to make sure we're representing different populations that are coming to county. I think if we truly were looking at this from a cost perspective and efficiency perspective, and that's truly what we wanted, I think the county, we should have asked all the lower tiers to shrink all our lower tier councils in half. We should have came to every one of our lower tiers and said, you have 7, let's shrink it down to 3 or 4. And we should do that across the board, across the county and then so. But when we ask that around our peers at county, it's usually a non-starter by most people. I don't understand how we can rationalize that at county. I have a problem with this one because I don't see the efficiency and I don't see any costs. What I have seen is multiple times when, if I'm going down representing our municipality and the deputy mayor goes down representing the municipality, we are not always in agreement on many things. And I think that's good. I think that's good that we're bringing different viewpoints down to county. I think that's why we're going to county. We don't vote together as the town of Penetanguishene. We vote on what we believe is right for our perspective. And I think that's good for what we're trying to do. Our budget is nearing $1 billion. And we have not heard of $1 that's going to save our regional government. I think this is a bit of a mistake. I also want to give one more piece of fact. The only reason this is before us this term, well, I mean this term, the deputy mayor is correct and councillor, you're correct. Every term it happens and there's a review. But the push happened this term because the Minister of Municipal Affairs stated to the warden, if you don't do it, we're going to do it for you. And at the same time, if you recall, the same conversation was happening in Peel Region. The same conversation was happening in Peel, and then all of a sudden, the government backed up and changed their focus and the priority. Since then, we've had 2 Minister of Municipal Affairs take up the portfolio, and there's been no more conversation about this. There's been no more external pressure from the ministry. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it. I just think we're wasting so much time on folks on something that's not important. Now, we've talked about way to vote. Way to vote just means when we do a recorded vote, how many votes do you have? There's about 169 way to votes of the county. The town of Penetanguishene gets 4. I get 2 and the deputy mayor gets 2. We have the smallest weight share in the county. I'm concerned that, you know, as we dilute, your voice gets diminished. I think we got to do what we're doing for the right reasons. Our farmers, our agricultural communities are asking us not to do this. I think there are so many individuals that are going to be left behind that we're not doing the right thing. So I'm going to ask council, I think we need to support that does not consent to this. I would hope we would support that as a council. Council, I think we've done tremendous work in our community. And I hear often when I'm out and about that people see that we are open, we listen, and we give everyone an opportunity to speak and address us with matters that's important to them. What I would like to see is if we can amend this motion to include an aspect where we can have members of the public to address council at our next council meeting, kind of like what we do at Open Forum, kind of like what we do with that Planning Act open public meeting. Something similar to that context, that next meeting, we can address this, but I'd like to hear from members of the public, what do they think about this? And then after that, council can make the final decision where they go. So those are my comments. Madam Chair, I'd love to move that amendment. I don't know if Madam Clerk can help, but something that speaks to next meeting, we can have a part of the agenda that's focused on public consultation. And I'd love to put out a little bit of communication. I think we've done great work communicating to the public. I'd love to hear from the public's perspective on this. And thank you very much.
I think we have until the end of June 30. Okay, I was going to say, I thought we did have time that we could look at doing that. Madam Clerk, could you help us with some wording on a friendly amendment to that, please? Councillor Dresch, go ahead.
In the meantime, I'll comment. First of all, I want to thank the mayor and deputy mayor for representing the town of Penetanguishene at that table, at that council table. I know that it's tons of work. Those agendas are huge. You would know that too, Councillor Leroux. They have very competent staff, but they have a lot of portfolios that move forward. And I mean, you have to read those agendas and be knowledgeable and proficient when you get to those meetings. And so thank you for doing that on our behalf, certainly. Secondly, again, I follow this closely because it's a very big interest to me. And if our mayor and deputy mayor for me tell me that they do not support the reduction and that they feel that the numbers should stay the way they do, then that's good enough for me, because you represent us and you're at that table, and if you feel that that's would be detrimental to reduce it, then I'll follow suit, because I believe in both of your expertise at that table. And I also know that there's a lot of committees, there's a lot of commitments when it comes to attending and participating, and these committees should be represented by us, by municipalities, not by staffers. So again, I would believe that if we were to reduce our numbers at that table, then those committees would be driven more by staffers than by the public and by our representatives of the municipalities. So again, that would be a concern for me. So I will be following the recommendations that you bring forward. Thank you.
Any other member? Sure. No, everyone's commented. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the amendment to the motion would read that council directs staff to provide a public information session at the beginning of the June 11th meeting in order to solicit public feedback on the county council composition, and that the county council composition discussion be addressed at the June 11th council meeting.
Okay, with that motion? Okay, can I get a mover for that? Your worship, second by Deputy LaRose. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. Okay, the second item under matters for consideration is the Economic Development Services Delivery. There are two reports attached, and the motion reads that staff be directed to proceed with option 1 as outlined in staff report CAO-2025-02, which sees the provision of economic development services being provided by the County of Simcoe, and that the proposed amendment the Memorandum of Understanding as outlined in Report CAO-2025-02 be approved, and that the Chief Administrative Officer be authorized to execute the Memorandum of Understanding for Economic Development Services with the County of Simcoe substantively, in the form attached as Attachment 1 to Report CAO-2025-02. Can I get a mover and seconder to put that on? Moved by Councillor DeRush, second by Councillor Waters. Any questions or comments with regards to this report? Your Worship.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to start by thanking the CEO and Andrea for your work on this. I know this has been a long road. I also want to start by saying we're moving forward with the right effort and the right what's best for our community. I think we moved full steam ahead with all the right intent with our partnership within EDCNS. And I think, unfortunately, the way that the relationship moved forward, the result is that 3 of 4 partners backed out of EDCNS, which is unfortunate. And I think it's unfortunate from a partnership perspective. But I think a really positive thing for our community, and I think a really positive thing for further partnerships and expansion of programming is this relationship. About a year and a half ago, I asked at EDCNS that we look at the County of Simcoe providing support to EDCNS. I also brought to the Economic Development Committee at the county that this referral item be added to the county to address it with our member municipalities in North Simcoe. Yesterday at County Council, this came forward to county to adopt through our committee structure at county. I would say we had about 5 to 7 minutes of a colleague of ours compliment the work of the county staff and our staff, and I believe the word was envy of municipalities for looking at strategic thinking, partnerships, and looking at how we can really do more in a partnership way like this. And really the idea was that this is a catalyst for other opportunities. Other municipalities, I think, are recognize this, seeing this, and I think we received a lot of kudos to this. But the kudos is to staff for bringing this forward to get it to here. This has taken a long time to get here, but thanks for getting it here. So I just wanted to comment on that, Madam Chair, because I think there's a lot of great work that's been done, but it's a year and a half of a lot of work behind the scenes to get here. The bench strength at the County of Simcoe from economic development and tourism is phenomenal. And I think we would have a really hard time to bring not just one individual, but the number of individuals at the county. And this MOU provides the ability to leverage the support that we need in our community to help us move forward. So I just want to say, this is tremendous. Thank you. And you probably can tell by my tone, I fully support because this is tremendous. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Worship. Any other comments? I just also want to comment that I always appreciate the thoroughness of the reports and the options that are being provided. And so for me, it was really, I do like the fact that we're going to trial this. I think what's important here is that we're also making sure that this is the right form of relationship as well. The county is large and they do have multiple staff that we can benefit from their expertise as well. But I think it also gives us that security to say, let's try this out, let's figure it out. The memorandum of understanding is very thorough. It's nice that the person will actually physically be here as well. I really like that that is not just about doing some remote work, but actually physically being in our community, because I think it's important for economic development to really understand the community, not just Simcoe County, but Penetanguishene, and what does that mean for us? And so I do appreciate the depth of the report. And again, I'm supporting the option that's being brought forward, but I really do, I'm a believer of let's try something, let's work with partners and figure out how we can continue to expand this. So really, really excited about this opportunity as well for us. Okay, having said that, no other comments, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. The next item is the voting method for the 2026 municipal and school board elections. And the motion reads that option 1, the use of internet/telephone voting for the 2026 municipal and school board trustee election as per staff report CL-2025-05 be hereby approved, and that bylaw 2017-28 authorizing the alternative voting methods remain in force and effect for the 2026 election. Can I get a mover and seconder? Moved by Deputy LaRose, second by Councillor DeRush. Comments or questions? Councillor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had put it in referrals, I believe, with the mayor as well, that would have liked to seen the paper ballot coming back. So I'm not in approval of option 1. I would support option 4, which says the same thing, internet telephone voting with a small quantity of paper ballots on election day only. So I'm more inclined for option 4 than option 1.
Any other comments by members? Councillor Waters?
I had the privilege of voting in 2 municipalities. In this municipality, I think I did on the internet, but in another municipality, I did it by phone, and that was a real chore. Anybody that voted, it was like 15, 20 minutes to do my voting. It's confusing. They tell you, you have 3 options for this, and then they read them, and then there's 14 options for this. And it's really confusing, really hard to do. And I would be in favor of paper ballots, whether it's option 2 or option 4. It doesn't really matter too much to me, but we definitely have to have paper ballots.
Your Worship?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to start by thanking Madam Clerk. I know this is a lot of work. I know a lot went into this, and I know whatever we decide, you're ultimately going to do the work. Like, this is hard work to run the election, and I don't want to minimize that because it is a tremendous amount of work. I've been a large proponent of paper ballots almost every election. The last 3 elections, I've prided myself knocking on almost every door. And I would say a large contingent of the population has said it is a barrier. And I think our job is to remove barriers. And I commend our staff because we have had more people participate in our online electronic voting. I think that's great. I think we've really done a lot of positive work. But there are people that are saying, I will not vote using that technology. That's the fact. The people have said that. I think we owe it to the people to have an ability to vote that meets their needs. I don't want to use fear, but I want to use fact. I believe 2 elections ago, the electronic system went down for, I believe, 6 hours. People could not vote for about 6 hours. If we had a paper mechanism and people could show up to the election hall, they could have voted. That election, we extended the vote into the next day. And that's no fault of our system. That's no fault of our staff. That's no fault of the system. The system was overwhelmed. I think, we owe it to the people to listen what they need and how they feel comfortable to vote. This is one thing we have heard. Madam Chair, I agree with you, Councillor Roux. I'm going to ask Madam Chair, maybe if we could get a little clarity from Madam Clerk. The difference between option 3 and option 4, I was leaning toward option 3, internet telephone voting with hybrid option, with paper ballots available on election day only. I'm just for clarity, what's the difference then between item 3 and 4? If we can just get that clarity. And then hearing Councillor Roux, I'd be happy to move an amendment to the motion that speaks that. But if we could get maybe just a clarity on 3 and 4, just so we're all clear, I'd appreciate that.
Through you, Madam Chair, to your worship. So option 3 outlines a hybrid voting method, which is internet and telephone voting and paper ballots on election day only. So option 3 is a complete paper ballot option on election day only, whereas option 4 is a limited quantity of paper ballots. That would be, say, 200 to 500 ballots, an estimated amount, and they would be printed previous to election day and supplied on election day for voting. Now, the difference between the two options, option 3 provides tabulators for counting, whereas option 4 does not and relies on manual count by staff. So that's the difference between the two options.
I think I get to comment, right? Okay, yeah. So I really do appreciate the thoroughness of the report, and you know, I appreciate seeing the vote tally year over year, but what continues to be disappointing is just the voter turnout in municipal elections. Just as busy as the federal polls were in advance polling and whatnot, we still only had 70% of the country actually vote, which was higher than it has been. And so we know that people aren't always exercising their right, whether it is a paper ballot or an online ballot or mailing in or actually going to the elections office. So I think that is, you know, unfortunately kind of what we see in our country, and even, you know, a smaller amount of voters in our municipal elections. You know, we talked about getting public feedback around changing the Sydex County Council. It'd be interesting to also get truly feedback from our citizens around what they would prefer, and would that increase their ability or want to come out and vote when it comes time to election. The piece that really caught my attention is, can I justify that we've decided to spend anywhere between $60,000 to $150,000 to facilitate a few thousand paper votes, based on, you know, what does that mean from a tax base? And as an organization, is that what we want to spend our, you know, tax dollars on ensuring that we have some paper ballot options? And so for me, that was really important to see. There are financial implications when we go back to paper. All of them have financial implications, but it's significantly more when we look at those pieces. You know, when we talk about, you know, the electronic process, or, you know, there's a cost associated with that, or we ask staff to count ballots, there is, you know, there's an entire process around what that looks like. And, you know, if we decide we have a limited amount, do we just say that you come vote at town hall and we don't offer any other locations within Penetanguishene? So I think there's a lot of logistics to look at from that perspective. And I'm really torn, to be honest, because certainly some of the feedback, and predominantly in, you know, when we did some of our, you know, polling, or we did some information sessions at some of the senior residents, you know, they really wish that they had the option. And I know that there was an opportunity to come in and actually use computers and get some assistance for that. So there was different mechanisms available. So yeah, I support option 1. I think the sheer cost and the additional burden on top of the paper ballots is challenging. So that's just, I wanted to provide my commentary as well. Councillor Dresch.
Thank you very much. So I was involved quite a bit in the recent federal election, and it was, of course, all paper, and it is onerous. It is onerous to go from that, and in comparison to the provincial, which was through tabulators. I guess my main concern is, I mean, I don't think it's fair to ask staff to provide 3 options to vote, or 4 options. Like, it just complicates everything, because now you're managing 3 different systems. And so I think I am in favor of option 1. I certainly do hear that generally our older population, our more seasoned folks, prefer a paper ballot. I think for them it's visual, it's handled, and whatnot. So I think for them that is a preference. And I know I'm generalizing, but I heard that loud and clear. But for our younger people, I heard that they didn't necessarily want to come in place to do this because they like to be doing that from home. So for me, I mean, sure, we can hear from the public, but I would like to limit the options so that 3 options would be quite, I think, quite the challenge for staff because they'd be managing 3 different systems. And I just don't think that is, it's reasonable. So, and I'm open if it's all paper. Okay, if it's a paper system that people really want to see, then I'm okay with that. But then I think we need to board on the other options. I mean, I just don't think it's fair to go 3 ways. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Councillor Waters?
When I look at the statistics that are in the report here, it already shows us that two elections ago, we had 46% of the population show up to vote, and it declined to 42% the next year when paper was not allowed, and down to 39% the year after. So people obviously were showing up in a greater number when it was paper. As to the cost, that's irrelevant, doesn't matter. People want to vote, that we have to provide that option for them. The other thing that happens is I'll give you an example. Whenever there was an election, my wife would always come to me and say, who are we going to vote for this year? And I would tell her Bugs Bunny or whoever, and she'd laugh about it. And she said, no, really, who do I vote for? And I said, you vote for who you want. But there are some families where one spouse might be a little more dominant and put pressure on the other spouse to vote the way that they want to. When it's paper ballot and you're going in behind a little booth, nobody knows how you're voting except for yourself. When you're voting online or on the phone in front of somebody, you may be intimidated to vote differently than the way you really want to vote. And I think that's important that we respect that as well. So if we have the option, I think we have to maintain the paper.
Any other commentary? Deputy LaRose.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just thought we might as well get a word in. I just had one quick question. And it's to the clerk. Is option 3 a reality? Is that something you guys could pull off?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Deputy Mayor LaRose. If that's what council desires, then we'll make it happen. Resources would need to be there and in order financially as well as staffing wise in order to accommodate option 3.
Just one more, Madam Chair, just a quick one. Would we be looking at having one location only then for the paper part of the process?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Deputy Mayor LaRose. Yes, absolutely. We would not be able to accommodate any other location if there was an option for, if there was the 3 different options, so internet and telephone, as well as a ballot option on election day.
Your worship, one additional comment?
Thank you. I'll just move an amendment that we proceed with option 3. I just want to comment about the cost, democracy costs. And I think whatever we want to do, it's worth us investing in our community. Communities ask for it, and I think that comes at a cost, but I'm willing to say yes to that. And it's not like we're just paying this out of the gate. We budget for this and we build a reserve every year towards this. And I'm sure Madam Treasurer can take and just adjust it based on when we move forward. So Madam Chair, I'd like to move option 3, but amendment for option 3, please.
Okay, sorry. So you need someone to second that if that's the motion you're bringing forward then? Second, Councillor LaRue. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Option 3. Do I need to amend and reread anything? Are you okay? Okay, so option 3. Okay, next item is referral to upcoming agenda. We have a few items on here, and I think some that we might be able to take off, I guess probably after next meeting. First one is paper ballot consideration in the 2026 municipal election. The second is Cultural Alliance. The third is the digital signs. Fourth item is public consultation by section and a presentation from Electra. Can I get a mover and a seconder on that? Councillor DeRush, second. Councillor LaRue. Any other edits, changes? Yes.
Chair, I believe that I could probably now remove the first item, the paper ballot consideration. Oh, on tell council, okay.
Otherwise, okay, we'll call for a vote if there's no other items. All those in favor? Opposed? That motion is carried. Any questions from the public or the media with regards to finance and corporate services? Seeing none, I'll turn it back to you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're looking for motion to adjourn at 8:44 p.m. moved by Councillor Waters, second by Deputy Mayor. All in favor? Have a good night, everyone. We'll see you next month. And thanks everyone for your